If you're ready to grow, then this pass for you. Welcome to Allies on Pursuit.
This episode is brought to you by New Horizon Financial. Whether you're growing a business, buying a home, investing in property, or upgrading equipment, New Horizon Financial provides tailored lending solutions to help business owners, investors, and professionals achieve their financial goals with confidence. Contact your local NHF credit advisor today on 1-300-133-597 or visit www.nhfaus.com.au. And now, on to the show. With me today is Mel Kettle from Mel Kettle and Associates. Mel is a strategist, a speaker and advisor, helping organizations create sustainable performance through clarity-based leadership. Mel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on this very wet Caloundra day.
It is indeed a wet day here in Caloundra, and I'm so grateful that you made it here safely. Why don't we begin by you telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey and sort of what led you up to your current sort of role today?
So I'm a leadership strategist and consultant, and I work with leaders and teams to help them achieve sustainable performance without burning out their people. I've been doing this work for a long time. This year is 20 years in business. Before that, I worked for small businesses doing conference and event management. Then I worked for a global marketing agency doing conference and event management. Then I moved to Queensland, having burned out in my late 20s, and as so many of us do.
Yes.
And I worked for the Queensland government for 5 years and decided after about 5.5 years I'd had enough of government. I'd had enough of doing work that really didn't light me up and fill me with joy. So I started consulting, and initially I started doing marketing consulting. I wrote a lot of annual reports. I did a lot of marketing strategies for small business. Then I fell in love with social media, very early adopter of social media in 2008.
Okay.
And so became a social media strategist and very well known for that.
Yeah, wow.
And then after a few years, thought I'm a bit bored with that. What can I do next? Did a Master's of Public Health and decided to just reimagine everything that I was doing. So now I do a lot of work with organisations, and I embed the public health work through looking at an organisation as an entity that has a microcosm of health requirements, but I look at it from the perspective of leadership and systems and strategies and processes rather than as a wellness perspective.
Well, that's a lot. That's interesting. Now, I notice you talk a lot, even just going through, a bit of history on yourself as I've done my own research, and from talking to you in the early conversations, big focus of yours is that sustainable performance. It's that what you call clarity-based leadership. And I notice there's an emphasis on maintaining sort of workable energy, or keeping energy levels at a peak performance without burnout. Burnout seems to be a feature that I think that you can probably speak quite thoroughly on. Tell us a little bit about, the sort of perfect role or the perfect sort of setup for people when it comes to avoiding burnout.
So for me, I went through burnout in my late 20s, and it took me 2 years to recover.
Wow.
I really don't recommend it. Real burnout is something like I just collapsed in a screaming heap. It sort of, at the time I thought, it's just snuck up on me. But I look back now and I think, no, all the warning signs were there. I just didn't either recognise them or acknowledge them. And it was in the 90s, and so there was very much a work until you drop culture, which was certainly in a lot of big corporates of which I was part of at the time. And I would say to my boss, I'm exhausted, I need time off. And the response would be, well, we haven't got it to give you. Because flexi time wasn't a thing in big corporate then or now. And there wasn't this understanding of work as a marathon, not a sprint. I was running events. I was running all the events for a big firm, a big organisation. We did 300 events in a year with 6 people. My entire team crashed and burned.
Yeah, wow.
Not unexpectedly, when you consider the volume of work that we were doing and the hours that we were putting in on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so after I'd burned out and I just thought I needed a change, I quit that job, moved from Sydney to Brisbane. Fortunately, my first job in Brisbane was with a very nurturing woman in a very kind environment with amazing people. And she was the one who said to me, no, the way we work around here is that we are all done by 5 o'clock. She said, I don't want you staying around later, partly because it's not safe if you're the only person here. And secondly, if you can't do your job in the hours that, you're in the office, then we've got a bigger problem. And so it was where I first really started to see that work-life balance. And then, as I progressed, I started working in different marketing teams, different communication teams. And then I started consulting a few years after that, again, working to support marketing comms teams. And I would just see everybody was working crazy hours, ridiculous pressure, insane client demands a lot of the time. And I was just seeing people become more and more exhausted, develop chronic illnesses as a result of the stress and the pressure. And I started to think there really has to be more to life than this. And then around about that same time, one of my cousins died. She was only 40 and I was only 35. So that was a massive wake-up call.
Yeah.
And then when I was 40, my mum and dad died really unexpectedly, and that was another massive wake-up call. And and then I was diagnosed with melanoma a few years after that. And so that was another massive wake-up call. And it just really made me reflect on what is the point of living our lives if we don't do things that we love.
Yeah.
And if all we're doing is working until we drop, seriously, what is the point? And so that was when I started thinking about how can I start working with people to help them understand the importance of understanding what you're doing, why you're doing it. How do you communicate that to the people underneath you? How do you make sure you've got the capacity to do the job that you're getting paid good money to do? And how, as a leader, do you make sure your people have the capacity to do their jobs without burning out?
Yes.
And so that was the very early evolution of the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah, wow. That's there was a lot in that, actually.
There was.
Yeah.
And I realised I just went on and on and on. No sound bites in that, sorry.
No, that's fine. Appreciate that. But still, I think a lot of people can relate to what you said because one of the things you highlighted, first of all, there's the old adage, work smarter, not harder, right? And yeah, of course, that's everyone's goal, is to find ways to work more efficiently. But it's sort of, I guess today, especially with the constant pressure that we feel in everything, like all around us, the economy is more stressful, cost of living's up. If people can find a way to work more efficiently, they're just going to increase their capacity. They're still going to find themselves, potentially at risk of substantial burnout because even though they're working smarter, they have the tendency to continue to work harder.
Absolutely. And, we just have to I just look at my time in the workforce. And so I mentioned this year it's 20 years since I started my business. It's 30 years since I joined the workforce as a professional. And my first job was running conferences. It was the mid-90s. I got my first mobile phone in 1996 and I was a very early adopter of that. I've been a very early adopter of a lot of tech over my life because I love it. At the time I got my first phone, I just thought, whew, how cool am I? And now I look at my phone, which is on the desk next to me, and I go, ugh, how can I get rid of you for a few hours?
Yeah.
I've just bought a brick so I can brick it, which basically means it doesn't work.
So you don't have a lot of apps on your phone?
I have thousands of apps on my phone, but by using this brick device, I can choose which apps do I not make available to myself. So I've
got that.
So it automatically blocks all of my access or bricks all of my access between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. And to unlock the brick, I have to hold my phone to the actual physical brick device which I keep downstairs in my office, which is a place I do not like to go to after 5:30 in the afternoon. And so it requires quite a bit of effort to get up off the couch and go downstairs to unbrick it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I'm digressing. So I thought, coolest thing ever. So it was also around that time, 1996, 97, that the internet was just starting to become known as a thing outside of academia.
Wow, yep.
Email was just starting to become used outside of academia. So I was organising conferences for a lot of medical and legal associations and a lot of academics, and they were all saying, we want you to use email. And so we signed up to email very early, signed up to get some websites created very early for our clients and for us, and paid a ridiculous amount of money to have that privilege because, again, early adopter, super expensive. We, running conferences and events, it was very manual, very labour intensive to manually enter all of the information for some of these big medical conferences that we did.
Okay.
A registration form would be 20 pages long.
Yeah, wow.
And our poor registration person would have to manually enter all of that data with 100% accuracy.
Yeah, okay.
She was incredible. She was incredible at her job. Then somebody invented some event management software that meant people could start to register online. And I still remember the expression of complete joy on Christina's face the first time we used this for a client. 15 people's worth of event stuff was populated in less time than it took her to manually do one.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And so that was the first time we really started to see in this industry how tech could be used to save time.
Yep.
And then email became more prolific, the internet became more prolific. And so the email was designed to save us time.
Yep.
And it did, except we filled that time doing other things.
Yep.
And so then social media came along again. Technology saves you time, but you just do more.
Yes.
So now what I'm seeing with AI is that AI is saving us time, but we're still doing more.
Okay.
Why are we still doing more with all of these time-saving devices? Why aren't we looking at this time that's saved? And if we're using it in our home lives, why aren't we using it, that time that we save, to do things that give us positive energy or that bring us joy, or to spend more time with our kids, or to spend more time with our loved ones, or to go to the beach more often if that's your thing, which it's mine, or to lie on the couch and read more books, or to, do more things that fill you with joy. And so I look at that from a workforce perspective, and there's some of my clients who are embracing AI and using it to streamline systems and processes, and they're excited because they're thinking of how much money they can save by getting rid of staff.
Yeah.
Other clients I've got that are excited by how much time AI is saving them so that their staff can spend more time with their clients, building and strengthening relationships.
Yeah.
Which of these do you think are going to win the world of work in the future?
Geez, that's a good question. Is that hypothetical question, or are you asking?
I'm asking. I know the answer.
I think, I can see it from both sides, obviously. As, most companies start to strive for that bottom dollar, human resource becomes less valuable to them. But, I'm of the opinion that I might get a bit crazy here, but I think that a lot of buyer behavior will be dictated by the human element.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I can see it in the younger generation. Like, for example, my daughter, she's absolutely opposed to AI. She's 18 years old. She's an artist. And she thinks AI is the worst thing that ever happened to humanity. Anything AI based, she absolutely is repulsed by the community. And she's not alone. A lot of her friends are the same. And from the communities that she's a part of online, there seems to be a tremendous pushback on AI. And I think, as much as I, from a business owner's perspective, want to adopt it into maybe some of the more, just make things a little more streamlined and efficient. I don't want to be seen as relying on AI. I don't want to use AI characters in my marketing, for example. I've tried it, but it feels fake, and it's something that I do worry about. But to your question, what do you think the answer is?
I think it depends on the industry that you're in. And I think like a lot of my clients work in professional services, so lawyers, accountants, finance, consulting. And I think the people that they work with, their clients want more relationships with their people.
Yes.
So one of the people that I spoke to about this recently was my accountant, and he's got 70 staff and he's going all in on AI.
Yep.
Because he can see how it can streamline things and it can reduce the need for his staff to be doing the data management, data input, really boring things that most people hate.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I'm going all in on AI wherever I can so that I can free up my staff and my team so that they can spend more time with you and with our other clients. He said, I'm horrified that the same woman has been doing your tax for 3 years and you have never spoken to her.
Yes.
Because she has no time to talk to you.
Yes.
Because she is under the pump with like all of the work that we've got on. So my goal is that she will be able to have a conversation with you a few times a year and with everybody else whose files she's working on. And I think they're the people who are going to win in those industries.
Yep.
If you're in manufacturing or other industries that are not so, where the client and the customer don't need to engage with your team in the same way, then I can see that AI can provide huge economies of scale.
Yes.
In those areas. But I feel like if you're a business owner or a manager in an organisation of people listening to this, you need to really think about what is the expectation that your clients and your customers have of you.
Yes.
And what are you going to be doing to make sure that you're living up to those expectations?
Yeah, I think one of the things you touched on there, I was having this conversation with my partner, Allie, actually, recently. We were just talking about how, you can have all the best systems in the world. You can have all the best technology. You can have AI in your corner. But ultimately, the entire economy is built on energy from people.
Yes.
Right? We are the commodity.
Yes.
The biggest resource in any business is human resource.
Yes.
If you try to eliminate human beings from your long-term strategic plans, you're going to fail, in my opinion. And look, I'm a credit advisor. I work with, I work with small business as my primary motivator. And I know if I get bogged down in the office, if I'm spending too much time behind my computer and not enough time in someone's office or in front of people, just being in the world.
Absolutely.
Anytime I go out and interact with the world, opportunity flows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think we need to remember, and I think it was Zig Ziglar who said this first, that people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
And so, and one of the things that I really am noticing and firmly believe is that trust is going to become the competitive advantage for your organisation. So not only trust in people, but trust in the premise of your organisation. Are you doing and are your people doing what they say they will do when they say they will do it?
Yes.
So, and how are you communicating that through all of your messaging and through all of your branding and marketing and everything that you're putting out into the world?
Yeah.
And it's like trust is like charity. It needs to begin at trust. So if your staff and your people in your organisation don't trust the people at the top, your customers are never going to trust you because they are going to know and they're going to feel it within their being that staff don't trust you, so why should they? And Edelman Trust Barometer tells us that the people that we have or have the most trusted relationships with at work are our line manager. And so if you don't trust that person, that's going to show up.
Yeah.
That will show up in the conversations you have. That will show up in your attitude. That will show up in the way that you do your job. And you just have to think about the last time you went into a retail outlet or a hospitality venue and the person serving you was clearly not loving the work they do.
Yes.
How did that make you feel about that organisation we're having in the thing that you were buying or the experience that you were having in the bar or the venue?
That's interesting. Again, I can go in so many ways when I hear you talk like this. Like, first of all, let's talk trust specifically first of all, and communicating that we as an organization are a trustworthy
Yeah.
entity. How does a business best communicate trust to the end user?
They show accountability. I think that is the easiest way and the best, well, the easiest way. It is not easy, but it is the best way. So if you as an organization make a promise and you don't deliver that promise, then that is the fastest way to break trust. It's like, what's that expression? Trust is built in drops and lost with a bucket. It takes a lot of time to earn trust, and you can kick the bucket of water droplets. I'm mangling this.
I know where you're heading.
And lose trust in a heartbeat.
Yes, that's actually really
very,
important.
very hard to gain it back again once you've lost it.
Yes.
And so think about what are the things you're doing, and you can. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody in business makes mistakes. You are far less impacted by that mistake if your customer base trust you. If they don't trust you, then it doesn't matter how tiny that mistake is, you're gone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they do trust you, it doesn't matter how big that mistake is. If you can own up to it and acknowledge it and talk about how you're going to rectify that mistake, then your customers will love you. And I think a really good example, the online fashion company ASOS, quite a few years ago now, printed 100,000 plastic bags, social media posts.
Oh, wow.
And they did a bunch of social media posts and said, we've made a mistake. We've got 100,000 of these plastic bags with a typo. We try to be environmentally conscious, so we're not going to pulp them or throw them out, which we could easily do.
Yeah.
But instead, we're calling it a limited edition. The next 100,000 purchasers will get one of these limited edition bags with a typo.
That's ownership.
That 100,000 sales happened in record time.
Is that right?
Record time.
That says a lot.
Because people wanted the limited edition bag with the typo.
Yeah, wow.
That they had owned up to.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says a lot. That says a lot. It's that concept of, the best way to, it's like anything in life, like even from the simplest, like your choice of fashion, for example, because you're talking fashion brought to mind.
Yeah.
If you wear something and you don't believe in it, nobody's going to believe in it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you own it, you express it in the way that you move,
Yep.
you be true to yourself, you be authentic,
Yeah.
people are going to embrace that. You might be a little bit quirky, it might be a little bit strange,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's real. And I think it's that realness that people are drawn to.
Yeah. And I think it's also, what you wear sends a message. And when Barack Obama was president of the United States, he wore either a chocolate brown suit or a navy blue suit.
Okay.
Almost every single day.
Yeah, wow.
Like if he was just in the office for the day.
Yep.
Obviously, he had a wider wardrobe, but they were the two things. They were his go-tos. And in an interview after he had finished his second term, he said, I did that because I didn't have the mental capacity to make a decision about what to wear because I had other things that needed my brain more than what am I going to wear tomorrow. And that is why I created my own little uniform of a chocolate brown suit and a navy blue suit.
Makes sense.
And it was the same with Steve Jobs when he was, like, for most of his life, he wore black jeans and a black turtleneck because he said, this way I do not need to make a decision about what I'm going to wear. I've got many other more important decisions to make.
Yep.
So have the same breakfast, wear the same clothes, have the same morning routine.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good way to sort of keep your personal life efficient when you do have such a huge amount of responsibility. I think that just leads me to one other question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think the biggest mistake ambitious people make when they try to pursue success?
They don't have curiosity.
Interesting.
They don't ask enough questions. They don't listen. And they don't observe behaviours.
Okay.
They think that they know everything and they're not prepared to acknowledge that other people could have useful information. And they also, that'd be the main thing, I reckon. I think that's the biggest mistake, is thinking you know everything. And then not acknowledging when you might be wrong. Yeah.
You were talking to me a little bit earlier about the sort of quadrants. You sort of built an access where you had spoken about people. The sort of goal is to have the high level of clarity, as well as maintaining a high level of humanity. Have I got that correct?
Yes, you have.
Would you
Yeah.
mind sharing any of that?
Yeah, so I've created a framework called the Human Leadership Matrix, which plots leadership on two axes of clarity, so high clarity and low clarity, and high humanity and low humanity. And clarity looks at how clear are you when it comes to your purpose and direction? How clearly do you communicate? How clear are you around capacity, communication, and leadership? And humanity is some of the softer human skills of empathy, kindness, compassion, generosity, curiosity. So leaders who have low clarity and low humanity are what I exhibit what I call reactive leadership. So they react to everything. They don't have a strategy. They don't really care about their people. They're usually very ego-driven. I'm sure we've all worked with people like this. I know I have. We were sharing a story before we hit record, and
Yes.
without naming names, this was a leader who I worked with a long time ago, and we did a staff survey. And when I showed him the results, his response was they lied. And when I said to him, why don't you do a little walk around the office? We had 3 offices. Why don't you do a little walk around the office once a week? Pick one office once a week, rotate them through.
Yep.
And he said, I don't have time to get to know people.
Oh. I can share a similar story.
Maybe it was the same person. It wasn't, but you never know. You never know. So sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you don't mind elaborating
do.
on your own point. Like I worked with a gentleman, and if he ever hears this, he'll know who I'm speaking about. So we had basically walked into an organization together. He sort of brought me in alongside himself as he was taking on a major new role. And we weren't doing so well at the beginning. And it was one of those guys who'd walk in, he'd walk straight past everyone at their desks, straight through the room into his office. Yeah. And, he was focused, he was motivated, he was ready to, get the ball rolling. But he missed that simple element of just acknowledging the people on the floor. Yeah. And when he came to me, he said, why is the mood so bad here? Why is, we're suffering. It feels like we're in a funeral home or something. The energy's low. I said, well, why don't you start by just saying good morning to people? Yep. Literally just say good morning, show an interest in the people on the floor first. Yep. This is the front line. Let's get them feeling connected to the leader. Yep. In even the most simplest way. And he took that on board, and immediately we shifted and started to see incremental growth. Oh, amazing. Because that was the total opposite to my guy, whose response was, no, get nicked. I don't care about the people. And I went, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to be here for long. Is that the attitude? Yeah, just here. Yeah, okay.
I said I wasn't going to be there for long because I didn't want to work with somebody who didn't care about his people. It was just horrendous. But then he also didn't have a lot of clarity. So I was head of comms for this massive project, and he said to me, can you create a brochure around this thing? And I said, yes. Give me some more direction. He said, you'll figure it out. I went, okay. Yep. Okay. So created a first draft and I gave it to him and he said it's wrong. And when I created more clarity around, what exactly is wrong, he said everything was wrong. I hate it. Do it again. But he couldn't tell me the purpose, who it was for, what it wanted to say. And so it was like that throughout the entire organisation. He just had no strategic mindset. He was really incapable of communicating what he wanted, why he wanted it. When I would say to him, what is the purpose behind this project? He said it's to save the government millions of dollars. And I said, that's great, but how does that impact Jane, who's in payroll down there? Yes. And he said, she'll have job security. And I went, yeah, but, it's a buyer's market right now. She doesn't really care about that because she could go into any other organisation. That's something a lot of people forget. And we would do some research into what people's concerns were, and their biggest concerns were, will I still be sitting next to my best friend at work? Yeah, wow. And he just didn't care about any of that. Yep. He was just like, but we're just going to save money. And I said, yeah, but they're not personally saving any money. Yep. So what is in it for them? Yep. And there was just crickets. Yeah, it's in his previous life as a leader in an organization myself. That was one of the things that I learned early. Was it's not just
As much as we all want to be on board with the overarching goals of the organization, we all want to win. Lots of people want to win. We want to be on a winning team. And if you're working with an articulate leader that has a high level of clarity, they're able to, put you into that vision of the future. And if all the other steps and all the other alignments are correct, people will sort of row in the same direction. But one of the ways that you can get people on board, I found, and I think you can shed some light on, was actually bringing the goals of the organization down to a more personal level. If we reach this goal, this is going to impact you in this way, and it's not just as simple as you get to keep your job. It's how will that impact your quality of life.
Absolutely. And I think that's an area that a lot of senior exec forget. They don't remember that it's really important that they can articulate the purpose of the organisation and the vision, but what does my job as the cleaner or the janitor or the person working in the supermarket on the floor, or the person who's the delivery driver, or the junior accountant, how does my role equate to us fulfilling this massive goal and vision? Like, what is the purpose behind the work that I'm doing? Where is my work no relevance? You need to share with me, why is my work important to us achieving this big goal? Because when people understand that, they are far more committed to the organisation and far more likely to do a good job, get job satisfaction, and stay.
It's such a big topic too, because I work primarily with business owners, and if I ask any of them, what is the biggest challenge you have? It's always staff.
Yep.
Every time it's staff. It's attracting, developing, and maintaining quality staff. Yep. How do you think the typical business owner should handle that challenge? What's some advice that you can give to business owners to be able to attract, maintain, and develop quality people within their business?
So again, it comes back down to trust. People will not apply for a job in your firm if they don't think they can trust you.
Okay.
And so what is it that you're doing to demonstrate trust? Does your website have your photo on it?
Interesting.
If it doesn't, how are they going to know who they're working for? Are you active on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or any other public social media where people can get, potential applicants can get a sense of who you are, what your values are, what you stand for? Because if you're not anywhere, then again, why would they apply? That'd be great. They're just throwing their hat in with this random stranger who could be great or who could be a complete dick. They're not going to know until they're in the room with you.
Yep.
And if that is too big of a risk for many people.
Okay.
And then once you've got them in the interview, what is it that you're doing to, again, well, not even once you've got them in the interview, once they have submitted an application, how are you treating them?
Yes.
Are you acknowledging the application? If they're unsuccessful, are you telling them or are you just leaving them? The number of job ads I look like that say only successful candidates will be notified. Why? If your recruitment process is fully online, there is no reason for you to not be able to notify people who have not been successful in getting to the next round.
Yeah, that seems
no
fair.
reason at all.
Yeah, rather than leave them in limbo wondering, is there still an opportunity here? Should I be looking elsewhere? Is this something that I can look forward to? Yep. Especially too, because, let's face it, organizations can make the wrong decision. They can hire the wrong person.
Absolutely.
Then they've got to go back to the bucket.
Yep.
And if they've not treated the people well within there, there'll be plenty of people out there who've had a call after the fact, after they, I meant nothing to you.
Yep.
And I said, man, you didn't get back to me. I felt like I meant nothing to you.
Yep. Years ago when I was in government, I applied for a higher duties position in a different department.
Yep.
Got to the final two, had the interview, never heard.
Okay.
A year later, somebody else from that department rang me and said, just wondering if you'd be interested in this short-term secondment. I know you've applied for this role before and were unsuccessful. And I said, was I? She said, what do you mean? And I said, I've never actually been formally notified that I was unsuccessul. So as far as I'm concerned, that application is still active.
Yeah, interesting.
Even though I knew who got the job and I knew, and I said, I tried, I rang the main interviewer, I emailed, I left messages, I never heard. And she was horrified. And this was somebody who I'd known for a long time. So it wasn't just, getting angry with some random stranger. It was a friend of mine.
Feedback, yeah.
Yeah. The next day, or no, probably 3 days later, I got a letter formally advising me that I did not get the position that I'd interviewed for a year earlier. And I thought, well, someone's doing a job.
Yes.
Good.
Well, they gave it a lot of consideration.
They did. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot I want to touch on with you, and I know we don't have all the time in the world, so I really want to look at your matrix a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, I was going to say we've got 3 more quadrants.
Yeah, so
with those,
just to be clear here, so the example that I had was that we previously had was high clarity or low clarity.
Low clarity, so
and low humanity.
Low humanity and low clarity is reactive.
Okay, so let's move into the next quadrant. Let's say we're dealing with somebody. Like, give us an example of somebody who has a high degree of clarity. But low humanity, and how that would impact the workplace. What does this look like?
Yep. So I call that directive leadership. And high clarity and low humanity are usually people who are very task focused.
Yep.
They're really clear on what they need to do. They've got a plan to do it, and they're just all guns blazing. Let's get it done.
Yep.
And they don't tend to have as much care or consideration for the people in the team or the organisation who need to support them to get that job done.
Okay.
So I've worked in organisations, and I'm sure your listeners have as well, where we've worked with this person who is incredibly focused on the task and less focused on the people.
Okay.
And so that looks like a lot of exhaustion, a lot of long hours, and quite a lot of burnout. A lot of you're just focusing on the task and you don't care what's involved in getting it done.
Makes sense.
And then when we flip that and we've got high humanity and low clarity, that's what I call well-meaning leadership.
Okay.
So it's the opposite. You've got people who are incredibly empathetic, incredibly thoughtful and caring, but they're not very clear on what their purpose is, what the role is, what the team needs to achieve, what the strategic direction might be. And so that shows up as people who are far less able to make decisions or don't want to make hard decisions or big decisions or any decisions. I had a client who fit this category. People loved him and he wanted to be Mr. Popular.
Yeah, okay.
Except he needed to make some big, hard decisions about other people in the team and he didn't.
Okay.
And just would like to remind everybody that no decision is a decision. And it shows up in a way that shows you should not be in this role if you are incapable of making the big decisions, particularly if it's a leadership role. That is your job. Decision making is your job. And so if you are unclear, then that not only does it show up in how you make decisions, often you flip-flop on your decisions. So I have another client who she's quite reactive. She's not strategic at all. She's a senior exec. And what that means is that she'll make a decision because she'll think that this is a good idea today, but then she'll change her mind overnight.
Okay.
And it's a bad idea tomorrow and this is a good idea instead.
Gotcha.
Because she's not... she hasn't put enough thought and care into the direction of the organisation. And she's very easily swayed by bright, shiny things.
Okay.
And that's showing up a lot with AI. There's a lot of people who are very easily swayed by the bright, shiny thing that is AI and new technologies, forgetting that it might not align to their actual core purpose.
Interesting.
And then the final quadrant is high clarity and high humanity, which is what I'm calling human leadership.
Okay, so from what you've told me, in a perfect work environment, senior leadership would have both high clarity and a high degree of humanity. What does that look like in an organization? So one of the best people I've ever worked with, quite a few of the best people I've ever worked with have fit into this category. And the way that it showed up is that they were decisive. Everybody was very clear on what the direction of the team and the organisation was. Everybody was very clear on how their role fed into that. They were very good at communicating. They were very good at making hard decisions and at communicating those hard decisions and the reasons why, where it was relevant to do that. They understood
capacity constraints. And so they put systems and processes in to make sure that we could do the work in a way that didn't lead to long hours, late nights, and other stresses that led to burnout. And that isn't to say that there weren't times where we did long hours, because there were, but they were very aware of what, from a human side, they were very aware of people's personal lives and what lives outside of the office. And that showed up with caring and empathy and kindness and compassion.
Yes.
When, when things happened.
Yeah.
Or, when there were anniversaries of bad things that happened. So one of the women I worked with was incredibly good at diarising anniversaries. And so one of our team had a horrible anniversary coming up, and she was told if she wanted to take the day off, she could. No questions asked. No leave required.
Yeah,
I know that next Thursday is going to be a really hard day for you because of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So if you need to not be in the office, that is completely okay.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Or if you need to be here so that you can take your mind off it, that is completely okay as well. Let us know what you need. How can we support you?
What keeps coming to mind, in a perfect world, we have people that have a high degree of buy-in within a company or organization. But I think a lot of small business owners are often dealing with people who they just want their checks. They just want money. They know that there's at present anyway, a lot of additional opportunities they could be looking at. The job market has quite a bit of opportunity. It's sort of a buyer's market if we look at that. Yeah. And we all want to do the right thing by our people, but sometimes I think even definitely in talking to a lot of small business owners are faced with a lot of apathy from staff. They receive a lot of what is that word I'm looking for now, where they take things for granted, and they have that high degree of you owe me. What do you call that?
Oh, yep.
Entitlement. Yeah, so there's a lot of entitled
Yep.
staff out there.
Yep.
And you can throw the parties, you can celebrate the anniversaries. They don't care. How do we deal with that as leaders that want to have a high degree of empathy and clarity while still ensuring that we don't get taken advantage of?
I feel like as both an employee and as a leader, it's really important to set the scene from the start.
Okay.
And when you get a new employee, it's or even before you sign them on, like in the interview in the job ads or the recruitment process, you need to be really clear about what your organizational culture is and about what you expect.
Yeah.
And sentences like, the way we work around here is,
Yes.
this is the way we do things around here.
Yes.
This is what we expect.
Yes.
They need to be reasonable expectations.
Of course.
Job ads that start with, you need to be prepared to hit the ground running. That's like a red flag with a bull to me, a red flag for a bull to me, because that just implies that you're completely disorganized, you're way behind, you're understaffed, and I'm going to get no briefing or onboarding. So you need to do your share as well. And it's really easy for small business owners to forget, in the craziness of doing business and keeping your head above water. It can be really hard to carve out the time to make sure that your people feel valued from day one. Because if you show up on day one and do things that help them feel special and important, that will give you an enormous amount of grace and leeway to do stupid things down the track. Yeah.
I guess that it's that maintaining both a balance between treating people well and making sure that they know that there's a high degree of value in what they do.
But it's
while at the same time managing the expectation of performance.
Yeah. It's also getting to know them and finding out, how do they want to be valued? Like what does value look like to them? What is their love language?
Oh, that's
is it
interesting.
words of affirmation? Is it acts of service?
Yep.
Is it gifting? Or is it whatever the other one is? Which I can't remember.
Go on.
And so if their love language is words of affirmation, then you need to make sure you tell them that they are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Frequently.
Yes.
If their love language is acts of service,
Yes.
then give them the occasional cup of tea. because
Yes.
that is something that they don't need to then do. If their love language is gifting, then what is it that you can gift them? And it doesn't need to be a big expensive thing. It could be a gift card for the coffee shop for a couple of coffees to say, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. The next coffee's on me.
Yeah, that's interesting. What about when we look at things like if we go back to entitlement, and let's say that you're trying to treat everybody as individuals inside the organization, you're wanting to, gift, for example, with some people, but other people will start to be like, well, what about me? I mean, if you give one to one and not one to the other, though there's favoritism inside the organization, how do you sort of tailor your approach to the different personality types?
Yeah, look, so much of that depends on how big your organisation is as well. And some things need to be streamlined and individual. Sometimes it's really hard to streamline how you show value that meets everybody's needs.
Yeah.
And I have no answer.
That's all right.
Because it's really hard. And then particularly if you throw in neurodiversity and working from home versus being in the office and remote workers, and, it's really easy to show the love to somebody who shows up in the office every day when you do too.
Yep.
Because you see people, and it's easier to, when you see them, you remember them.
Yep.
If you're a remote worker, if you've got remote workers and people who work more frequently from home, you need to put a lot more effort in to make them feel valued.
Well, let's go from, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you, because what you do is you work with organizations to try to improve, like we said at the beginning of the podcast, you're creating performance through clarity-based leadership.
Yeah.
A big part of that is maintaining clarity and the human element.
Yeah.
If you walk into a place and you are dealing with senior leadership that has a great degree of clarity but is lacking in the human element, what are some of the first things that you can do or you can sort of recommend to them to improve in this area?
How long is a piece of string? So I worked for an organisation a very long time ago, and they did a global staff survey, and our office was the worst.
Okay.
The worst in the world.
Yep.
Sydney, Australia, worst in the world.
Yeah, wow.
Anyway, the CEO was horrified, as were the senior exec. And so the two things that they did, one of the two complaints were that we were very siloed, and that was because we were very client focused. And if people working on the client that I had didn't know what people working on client B were doing or client C. And so once a week, once a fortnight, once every 2 weeks, we would have a boardroom, Friday afternoon boardroom drinks and reporting on what everybody was up to.
Yeah.
And it went for an hour, and it helped people get a better sense of what everybody was doing. And also a time for us to get to know our colleagues in other parts of the office. And we had, I think at the time, we had probably 100 staff.
Okay.
Across on the one floor of the building. And so not everybody came to this, but enough people did that you could get to know each other a little bit more.
Yep.
And then on the other Fridays, the senior exec would wheel around a drinks trolley that had been pilfered from an airline that used to be one of our clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they would give us all a drink. Now, obviously, these things would not happen in the same way today with a lot of organisations having an alcohol-free culture.
Yes.
But that went such a huge way in helping us low-level junior staff get to know the C-suite staff, get to know the exec. By the time I left, I went from being completely blanked by the CEO to her knowing my name, where I lived, how many siblings I had, what I wanted to do in the future.
Yep.
Because of these Friday afternoon conversations. Yes. And so think about what are some of the simple things that you can do to get to know your people.
Yep.
When you have your team meetings, how can you embed some more conversation starters that will help you get to know each other? So another organisation I worked in, there were 12 of us. We all had a different horoscope. At the time, the Australian magazine had Mystic Medusa, who was the horoscope writer.
Okay.
And in our Monday morning meetings, we would all read out the horoscopes for everybody. And so it was lots of laughter and hilarity ensued, but we all knew we all had a birthday in a different month, and it was just a really fun, easy way to start the week.
Yep.
We didn't have to share anything personal about ourselves because
Gotcha.
our horoscope was doing it for us.
Gotcha.
And whether you believed or not, everybody had a laugh. We had a cake budget for birthdays. So once a month we'd have a morning tea with delicious cakes for a birthday. And because we had a different birthday every month, we had one every month. And so it was things like that. We had some social activities. We did things as small teams and bigger teams, but you've got to also figure out what is it that your people want. So these activities were not directives by the boss. They were born of her getting to know everybody in the team and finding out what we wanted.
Yeah, gotcha.
How did we want to work better together? How did we want to get to know each other more?
That makes sense.
Rather than having some forced, hideous icebreaker thing that would get a lot of people offside.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
With regards to, because I think a lot of this is self-awareness when it comes to leadership. Obviously you're going to come in and you're going to help people work on these things. When somebody's trying to identify where they're falling short when it comes to whether, it's not being able to communicate the vision, having that sense of clarity as to the mission and where we're trying to head with this project. And then identifying the human element. What are some questions that leaders could ask themselves when they've got a bit of time themselves to try to identify those weaknesses and look at where they need your assistance? So, again, there's a lot of different ways I could respond to this. A really big part of self-awareness is how you see yourself and how others see you. Okay. And if other people see you in a different way to how you see yourself, you have a very big self-awareness gap. Yes. And so one of the most confronting thing I've ever done was put on Facebook years ago, what are 3 words you think of when you think of me? Okay. And I did it with friends, and so I knew that I would get some love. Some of it was tough. But I also knew if the words that I had written down were extremely different to the words that they were writing down, then I had a big problem. Yes. Fortunate, and what I found very interesting as well is that there were people who responded who have known me since I was a child. And there were people who responded who'd only known me for between 3 and 5 years. Okay. And their answers were different. And the people who'd known me since I was a child, the words that they used to describe me were how I was as a child. Oh, that's interesting. Yep. The people who'd only known me for 3 to 5 years were their words described me as the adult that I had become. Yeah. It's really interesting. Well, I imagine a lot of people suffer, or not suffer, but I think a lot of people would maybe be surprised the way that people perceive them. Yeah. And I don't imagine we're telling people to go out and say, describe me in 3 words to their staff. But why not? Oh, okay. But why not? And you'd probably want that to be an anonymous survey. Yeah, well, I've done that with I've worked in a senior leadership role and had those surveys. Yeah. And I think that's the first step is let's do an anonymous survey and find out. Let's take the temperature of the room. Yep. Let's get some real feedback on the internal dynamics and that synergy between our departments. And then we can take steps to rectify it. But how do you, maybe from your experience, have you dealt with leaders who, even when faced with criticism, will actually go, oh, yeah, but, that's not me, that's them? My reactive leadership guy that I talked about before, when we did exactly that kind of an internal staff survey, and when I presented the results to him, he said they're all lying. Yeah, okay. I'm like, why are they lying? And he said, because it's not true. And I said, but people are saying they don't know you. I did not give him the worst of the data. Let's say that person's listening to this podcast now. What's your advice to them? Talk to people, get to know people, get out of your office, walk around the floor, have conversations with your staff, make sure they know you. Yep. And so that they're not scared of you. Yep. This was also a man who, and I say a man because he was a man. I've had this with women as well. But you could not give him bad news. Yeah, okay. If you gave him bad news, he would scream at you he would shoot the messenger. Okay. He deflected criticism. He refused to accept blame. He had zero accountability. And it was really not surprising that people thought of him as they did, which was untrustworthy
and I could go on. But that was not how he saw himself. He thought he was God's gift.
Okay.
Yeah, he thought he was the greatest manager ever. Because he saw his role as his title, not as his personality and who he really was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've now received this feedback.
He didn't care.
Still, but how do we get them to care? That's what I'm saying. They're listening now and they're like, okay, maybe I do care.
I didn't have the influence to make him care.
That's it.
I didn't have the influence. And the people that did have the influence didn't want to create waves because they were scared of him screaming at them.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that.
Yeah.
I've seen a bit of that. I've been in those organizations. I've worked with those people. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the person who's really high in humanity, low in that clarity and direction. They're listening now.
Yeah.
They've thought to themselves, oh, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
What would be the number one bit of advice you would give them if they want to start taking steps towards increasing that level of clarity?
Get me to come and do some work with you.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
So if you are not clear, then you need to take the time to figure out what's important to the organization. Mm-hmm. What are the goals? What is your strategic intent and how can you get there? And not only how can you get there, but then how can you communicate that to the people below you and below them and below them so that everybody understands, particularly if you're changing direction, or if you're starting a new business, or if you're addressing significant change in the business. So I facilitated a 2-day strategy weekend for a client a few weeks ago, and one of the things that there were two things they wanted from me. There were two outcomes that we needed. One of them was that we needed a clear direction for the next 5 years, because in the industry that they're in, there's been a lot of change, a lot of government change, legislative change, socio-cultural change, and obviously AI is changing things.
Oh, massively, yep.
And then the second thing is the founder is wanting to step down in 7 or 8 years. And so they wanted to start the conversation around succession. What does that look like?
Yep.
And so we walked away with a plan for both of those.
Yep.
And we had a lot of very challenging conversations in the room. We walked away and 3 people said to me, oh, I've never worked with anyone that holds a silence as long as you do. And I'm like, well, I didn't have anything else to say. One of you needed to.
Yep.
And the comment was, yes, I was wondering who was going to crack first. Like, you can't look at it that way. But if you're not clear, then engaging someone to help you by asking the questions can help you extract that clarity.
Okay.
If you don't have clarity of direction, then it doesn't matter about anything else, because you're not taking people on the journey with you.
Yeah, that's good advice. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, someone wants to work with you, what's the best channel they can go through?
So just go to my website, melkettle.com. If you Google me, you'll find all of my contact details. You can book a time for a meeting, send me a text, shoot me an email. If you phone me, I doubt that I'll answer it, especially if it's an unknown number, because AI won't put it through to my phone.
Okay.
It's a feature I both love and hate.
Yeah.
But if you shoot me a text or send me an email, then we can figure something out.
That sounds good. Well, I'll make sure I include your contact details into everything that I post. And I really want to thank you again for coming on today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I wish you well.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thanks.